On this week's episode, we speak with Troy Hale, AKA Professor on the Road. Troy is a Michigan State University professor of journalism and 26-time Emmy Award winner. Troy is known through the industry as a creative visual storyteller and a perfectionist. Troy recently took his teachings on the road, encouraging students to think outside the box and find inspiration and new experiences outside of the classroom.
This is a few choice words, the Fueled by Choice podsnack, a tasty morsel of inspiration and stories of choice from some of our favorite humans in the world.
A few choice words.
That's awesome. Do you bike often, or are you just getting into it?
Well, I'm trying to lose the weight because I have a marathon at the end of the year that I have to do. So I'm just trying to do anything to get some exercise right now.
Nice. Well, if you're not doing anything in September, we have the Great Cycle Challenge. If it doesn't interfere with the marathon.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my marathon's in October.
Cool. It'd be a good warm up for that.
Nice.
Yeah. I need some things to do for sure.
So you're back from your trip, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been back for a while.
So how long? What was the final duration of the entire thing? I saw the map, which I definitely want to share after this.
About a month and a half.
Month and a half.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So yeah, that's about that's the longest tour I was ever on as a musician.
Yeah. It was time to get home. I think I'm thinking in the fall I'm going to do something about the same.
Nice.
Yeah.
Same area.
Well, I got this epic ski pass, so I'm definitely going back out to Colorado. But I want to try to find new places to go as well.
That's awesome.
Cool. So you actually taught classes on the road, yes?
Yeah, pretty much. All my classes were asynchronous, which means it's not Zoom, it's not live.
Okay.
So I just have to kind of put a package together and then have them do that for the week, and then put another. There was some Zooming with students that had questions and those kind of things, but not anything live.
Now, was this driven by the pandemic and not being able to be in person, or is this something you wanted to do for a long time and how you normally teach?
No, it was definitely a pandemic.
Yeah.
It was definitely that. It was trying to do something interesting, but also and interesting for my students, but also something interesting for me. Instead of I was, for all of fall, I sat at home and binge watched everything on Netflix. So I had nothing else to watch. So it was, me getting myself out of boredom as well.
Yeah, that's cool, man, that you went and did that. That's, I'm always like scrolling through. I have a couple of friends that are travel nurses, and like they'll go take an assignment in Tacoma, Washington, and there's like these beautiful hikes that they're going on. And then they'll take an assignment down in Texas, and they're in a totally different area. And I somewhat envy them that they're able to go do that. So that's pretty awesome that you did.
Yeah, I met some travel nurses on the trip, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nurses are crazy, man.
Oh. Well, they were... When they talked their way through it, though, because some of them bought RVs and things like that.
Oh, cool.
And when they talked their way through it, they said they gave the cost analysis of either getting an RV or getting hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And they were smart. They were doing it the right way. They were saving money.
Yeah. And it's a lot of these places that were hit really hard with COVID were paying big money for people to like leave their units that they normally worked on and go work elsewhere for a short amount of time.
So for our listeners who don't know, Troy is also known as the Professor on the Road, and he has an Instagram, an awesome YouTube channel. How many videos did you end up posting from the trip?
Oh, geez. I think it's 14. I think there were 14 episodes.
And you were just nominated for 2 Emmys for that, right?
Yeah. We were nominated in the schools educational category, and then I was personally nominated for narrator performer. That's
awesome. So, according to the MSU site, is this now your 62nd nomination?
Oh, that's I don't know.
Or 200.
You lost track.
I've lost. Well, yeah. I always hate saying that because it's such an uppity thing to say. but really, I don't know anymore. I've been really lucky in my career to have worked at a number of places with very talented people and been able to win 26 of them. So, anytime you're nominated, it's amazing.
That's so cool. So is it like a phone call or just like an email? Like, hey man, just by the way.
For the nominations?
Yeah.
Oh, they have a whole release thing now, and it's all online, and they put it out, and then you go through and try to find your name on it.
That's sweet. So actually, I was checking someone else out about a week ago. It was the balloon launch.
Oh yeah,
Drew and I both went to MSU. We've talked about that. Go green.
Go white.
And
go white.
Yeah, yeah. And you're one of the most interesting teachers I've ever come across. And obviously, I didn't know you when I was there, but reading some of the stuff that you've done, like in terms of getting students out of the classroom, has been amazing. So, I mean, were you doing a lot of that before the balloon launch, or? I say the balloon launch because that's like the farthest event I could really find where it was like, whoa, this is not your general classroom event right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I came from the industry. I like I said, I was lucky enough to work in some amazing places with some amazing people, and that's what allowed me to start teaching at MSU. And my whole background is like you learn it by doing it. So anytime I could grab a couple students that really, you could tell that they wanted to do it. You could tell that they wanted to learn. You could tell that they weren't just coming to class to come to class and get the grade and go home. And I would say, well, hey, I got this project this weekend. Do you want to come and shoot for me? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So it kind of started with those kind of things. And then I started to just do my own projects on the side, like that balloon launch. Like I didn't need to do it. I was curious about it. And found a couple of people that wanted to do it, and invested a couple of my own dollars to make it happen, and then bring along a couple of students to help record it. So I've done that a number of times. I had a gig where I led a documentary crew in China, and I needed a sound guy, and I found a student at MSU, and I'm like, hey, you want to go to China for 12 days and shoot? And he's like, yeah, I want to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool opportunity for students for sure.
Yeah. And there's some great students. I mean, there's some incredibly talented people that come through MSU, and you just want to help them more than just, hey, come to my class, Oh,
100%. And I mean, in terms of getting students out of a shell, I can definitely speak towards Henry Brimmer in my portfolio class. Like he didn't push so much, and I know this sounds bad, but he didn't push so much like the education on me. It was more or less like do what feels right to you. And that was like almost one of the biggest learning points I had in school was, he really brought me out of my shell to express myself. And I never forget that. And I still keep in touch with him every now and then, but yeah, that's very cool that you can find that in students and giving them an opportunity that goes beyond the university.
Well, yeah. And students have always been in a classroom. They don't know life outside of a classroom. Mm-hmm. So, pulling them outside, that same student that I was telling you about that went to China with me. Before that, there was a different opportunity to go to Houston on a shoot that I was doing. And I took him along for that. And we shot for 3 days straight on this, it was my Missing Moon Rocks documentary film. And we're flying home, and he's asking all these questions while we're flying home on the airplane, and we're getting ready to land. And he goes, I'm taking your class next semester. I'm like, dude, you just did in 3 days. So
he got an A.
That kind of showed like his passion. Like he wanted to know this before he even got to my class.
Heck yeah, firsthand experience. So speaking of documentaries, you got a couple funny ones.
Yeah.
The first one Fart, a documentary.
Yeah.
Where did that? Well, first of all, I mean, it's about farts, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. It reminds me of a book I had when I was growing up that my dad got me. It was just, that, hey, everyone farts. It's a normal human thing. And man, my grandma was so pissed when she saw that he brought that home. But so where's the inspiration come to do, a documentary like that? Because you got a fart documentary and then Shit Saves the World.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I usually preface this by I've done some serious films in my career.
Sure.
No, because everybody like I used to work in TV news, and it would be a lot of death and destruction, and then I started doing documentary films, and my film before that was Missing Moon Rocks, and before that was Spare Parts Human Organ Trafficking in Bangladesh. Which are all serious topics, but it's not one of those like nobody's going to click on it on Netflix. Nobody wants to be down for 30 to 40 minutes. So I just kind of said, well, I've never had the opportunity to actually make something funny and do something fun for a change. And I think I was probably watching the Daily Show or something like that at the time, and understanding how you can get your point across with humor. So I just kind of started looking for ideas. And like you said with your father, that's how that kind of humor, gets passed down to you, right?
100%.
So I think we were talking about ideas one day with just a group of friends, and we got on the topic of farting, and we laughed for like 2 hours straight. And I got back home the next day, and I'm like, somebody had to make this movie, right? So I started doing research, and nope, couldn't find it. And when you have an idea and you can't find it online, you've got a good idea. So that's why I went with that one.
That's a good point. I can't imagine the search results when.
Yeah. It's actually amazing how much content there is about farting online.
Beyond the whoopee cushion.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that'd be a good name for a fart documentary.
Beyond the whoopee cushion.
Yeah, that is pretty good, actually. Oh man, you guys, this is like 2 years, 4 or 5 years too late now.
Oh man. Well, let us know if you need any ideas. We got some creative flow going.
Well, we could always make the record, the music record.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beyond the whoopee cushion.
So you were out on the road, like what things went right for you? What things went wrong for you on your trip? Whether that's with yourself or teaching.
The teaching stuff actually went really well. I was actually really shocked, and I got the most amount of positive feedback from my students this year than any of the other 13 years that I've ever taught.
Cool.
So that was I was blown away by that. I knew I was doing something cool. I just didn't know if they would think it was something cool. And I think they enjoyed it, one, because they could see how much work I was putting into the class, and I think they could appreciate that. And two, it was nice to kind of virtually follow somebody doing something when people are stuck at home,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was part of it. So the teaching part was actually really, really good. Pulling over to the side of the road to grade papers and all that kind of stuff. That's a little strange, but you get used to it. So that all that stuff went really well. It was the fact that I was in a pop-up camper, driving around in the middle of winter. My first night was 9 degrees at a truck stop. So that was a little rough.
Wow.
So those kind of planning things, that you don't know what you need until you go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was those kind of things, but most everything was pretty positive. Even meeting people out on the road, it was pretty positive, and people were careful and stayed away from you, and followed all the guidelines and all that kind of stuff. So that was it. I felt actually better on the road than I did sitting in my house.
Yeah, I mean, you learn so much. I mean, that's a big leap for a lot of people to go out and travel. Not only do that alone, that's a whole nother level of trust in yourself and just trust in the process.
Yeah. I've traveled a bit by myself, in non-pandemic years, so I know I was going to be okay with that. But this was the first time, it wasn't getting on a plane and going somewhere. It was just driving, and it was you and your truck. Yeah. And it was interesting because I didn't really have to be anywhere. So that was really freeing every day to just kind of go, well, where am I going today? Am I driving, 50 miles down the road, or am I driving 500 miles today? So
what was the longest stretch of driving that you did?
The longest stretch was the last day, which was 10 hours, coming back from Omaha. I was just ready to be home at that point.
Just flying down 80.
Yeah, it wasn't that quick, but not with the truck camper. Although I did get the truck camper up to 95 on the Salt Flats in Utah. So, there you go. So it can go pretty quick. So no, I had a number of days where I just drove and not knowing where I was going to stop that day, and then realized I drove 8 hours. Yeah, it was surprising.
So what did you do? You know, when you're by yourself, obviously you can listen to music, audiobooks. You know, what did you do to kind of pass the time? I mean, obviously you could come up with things to teach while you're driving. Was there anything that your go-to time killer per se?
Oh yeah, I got this was the first time I really got into podcasts, and I was just listening to I've always listened to like NPR in the car and stuff like that. I just I like the storytelling aspect. Like if you're just listening to a story, you don't realize like an hour and a half's gone by. Yeah. And then I really got into the Office Ladies podcast, and you listen to one episode of that and you've gone 200 miles. So that was really, really handy. But yeah, that's what I did most of the time. And then anytime I saw something on the side of the road, it would just say something interesting. I go, oh, let me stop there for a second and take a break. So that's that's how I stopped at the Petrified Forest. I just saw something off the side of the road and just said, hey, let me stop here.
So awesome. Have you heard of any of your students that kind of maybe that are following in your footsteps? Like, have they gone out and done some small trips because of what you've done and like influenced them to do?
I didn't hear from that, and what I was doing was more of just an example of something to do, because I could see that everybody was really getting just I don't want to say depressed, but they were, it was the pandemic and you're sitting at home and people were just tired of it at that point. And I could see that for my students, when they were sending emails and stuff, they were just not happy with the way that year was going, which is completely understandable. I wasn't either. And my point to all this was like, you don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to go on trips or anything, but find something that you can do right now that you couldn't do at any other time. And for me, I teach every day in a classroom. There's no way I could take a month and a half and go on the road and still do my job. And, this spring was the only time probably ever that I'll be able to do something like that. And that was my point to them. Like, yeah, we're not doing the normal stuff that we're doing, all the time, but that could be an advantage instead of a disadvantage. And how could that be an advantage for you? So I wasn't really trying to get my students to travel and do something. I was just trying to get them to look at the positives and see what they could do. Do you want to train for a marathon? Well, you've got time to train for a marathon now. You don't have to go to class, or you don't have to go to class. Yeah. So anyway, that was more of the point than hey, travel. I mean, I did get a few emails that said, hey, I really love, what you're doing. And I want to get out to the Grand Canyon at some point myself, that kind of stuff. But I haven't heard of anybody doing anything.
I think like one thing that I think about when you just said that was like with the pandemic, we're so used to doing everything, our routines, whether it's teaching or going and working a full-time job, and just like you do the same thing every day and you look forward to your vacations. And it's like, where is the silver lining to all of this? And just like you said, like, do a deep dive inside and like think about the things that are valuable to you that you value, because you have that time to actually think about it and choose what you're passionate about and go for it.
Yeah. Or, experiment with something, maybe this is the only time I ever do a road trip. I don't know. Maybe I saw the camper and I'm done, but hey, it was an incredible experience and I'm never going to forget that, especially the 9-degree night.
Yeah, definitely.
Making an opportunity of a dark time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that was the point of all of it. And, we got quite a bit of press coverage. I think like 10 or 11 places contacted us. Actually, I've got an interview on Saturday with a local TV station about it, and everybody was positive. And they're just like, hey, this is really cool what you're doing and the message that you're sending people. So that was great to me, that I didn't really get a whole lot of like, why are you doing, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's one of those undeniably cool things. Like when I saw it in that press release from the ComArts email, like, first of all, the logo, I was like, man, who's this dude? This is awesome. And then I read into the story. I was like, oh man, like this is totally aligns with what we're doing and what we try to tell our, I don't want to say fan base, but, but anyone who follows what we do, that's what, if you're being fueled by choice is all about, making bold choices, making fun choices, positive choices, and fulfilling your life. And hopefully someone can see that and do something with their life in a positive way,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And the logo was designed by Carl Good. He taught at MSU. He just retired about a year and a half ago. He was the former director of art for Newsweek. So
Cool.
he did that. He did that logo for me, and I was really thankful that he did it.
Yeah, you got your cat in there too.
Yeah, he did. That was great.
And the cat went on the trip, correct?
Yes. Dusty, the adventure cat. He's got his own Instagram page. I really expected him to have more followers than I did. He did get a lot of attention on the road. Actually, it was a lot of fun.
So how did he do the whole time? Was he just loving it, just being kind of just by you and the enclosed space?
Yeah, he's a 15-year-old cat and set in his ways. But he got used to it. He got used to things. He would meow for about the first hour of every trip. Not like he didn't know we were going to drive that day because we drove every day. And then he would curl up in the back seat and go to sleep. And my favorite part is we got out onto the salt flats in Utah, and there was not another soul around us for like 2 miles. And I just opened up the truck and I let him just go wherever he wanted to go for a couple hours. So that was a lot of fun. But no, he did pretty good. He was actually better behaved on the road than he is at home here right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I have 2 hairless cats. I don't know how they would do on that 9-degree night.
Yeah, Dusty was okay. He would curl up with you, so that was nice. I had an electric blanket, so he would actually come under the blanket. So I think he did better in 9 degrees than I did.
Yeah, probably keeping you warm.
Yeah.
So with the pop-up camper, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you find that on Facebook Marketplace? And because I know you renovated the hell out of it.
Yeah. I found it. I got one of the things that I got addicted to over the pandemic was YouTube shows. And one of the shows is called Gone with the Winds. It's this couple that sails around the Caribbean on a catamaran. And, I had, before I even did this trip, I had a yearly review with my boss. And he's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm like, teaching remotely on a catamaran in the Caribbean. And he started laughing, and I was like, I don't know if you think I'm serious or not. So I thought about that kind of thing, but man, those things are, $500,000. So I was like, well, what can I do? And I saw some other RV type things, that people were doing. So I started looking that up, and I found one, an older one for $1,500 on Facebook Marketplace, bought that. And then a couple of days later, bought a truck because I didn't have a truck. Wow. So bought the camper first, then bought the truck, and brought it home, stuck it in my garage, and worked on it for 4 months before the trip even started. So I did a lot of renovation to it, and that was also part of it too. It was part of like how do I stay entertained over, what was it, October, November, December, when it's cold out in Michigan.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck inside during a pandemic. Well, okay, let me stick this thing in the garage and I can work on it. So that was part of it too.
And you're a professor of all trades.
Yeah, I'm not a great renovator.
No, you made it work, and that's what counts.
Yeah.
And you said you didn't have any breakdowns, which rules.
Nope, no breakdowns. Well, the truck's pretty new, so that helped. And the camper just stayed on the back of the truck, so that was handy.
So, I mean, obviously, you're a director, a filmmaker, a storyteller, editor. I could just keep going down the list. And now you're also a musician. That's I want to touch on that. So you're a guitar player and a drummer, but you're more of a drummer, right?
Speaking of being stuck inside for a long time, I lived internationally for a couple of years, and we didn't really go too far outside the house in school, sometimes for safety reasons. But
wow.
I needed something to do, so I picked up a guitar, and that's how I learned. I learned by ear by hitting play on a cassette tape. I'm not trying to date myself, and then play along with the song, and then hit rewind and play along with the song. I did get CDs at one point, so that was handy. So yeah, that's how I started. So I started on guitar. I played trumpet in junior high and in the band and that kind of stuff. But did that, and then when I graduated college, my parents would never let me have a drum set in the house. That was too loud. So I got a drum set after I graduated college, and then the first band I was in, nobody needs guitar players; they need drummers. So I went into audition for both. And they said, okay, well, you're the drummer, because they couldn't find another drummer. And then a number of years, I was married for 11 years, got divorced, and rediscovered that I loved playing in bands, and auditioned for another band because they needed a drummer. And I was a drummer for 5 years in that band. And we just made some changes, and I've moved to guitar, and we brought in another drummer. So yeah, that music's a big part of my life, even if it's listening or playing.
There's nothing like playing live music, man. It's been a long time for me. I know Jason's more recent into it, but I think about it all the time. We used to be in a band together, and we'd play at like Mac's Bar in Lansing, just off of campus, and the Small Planet when it was open, which is now, I think both of those places have recently shut down. But it was so cool to like get all your friends at college, and they loved it too. Like, oh my God, our friends are in a band. Let's go watch them jam. And I miss it. It's like a drug being on stage.
Oh yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. We had a gig a couple weeks ago. We practice once a week, and we have a gig coming up that's a big outdoor festival on June 19th.
Sweet.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
What's the festival called?
I think it's called Outdoor Festival.
It's the outdoor festival.
Yeah, it's something like that. I can look it up here in a second, but it's June 19th at the Royal Scott in Lansing.
Sweet. Yeah, we've Drew and I, obviously East Lansing is very close to our hearts, and you know, the band that I was in for 10 years, we started in Cedar Village. And funny fact, we played the Battle of the Bands. I can't remember I don't know if MSU still does that, but we played the Battle of the Bands at the International Center. And we actually won that year. We don't know how. It was one of those things like, how does this make sense? Why did we win this? But that was like the catalyst for actually taking the band seriously. And then, you know, after that was kind of history in a way. But yeah, music is an amazing thing. It's definitely been very influential on both of our lives.
Yeah, I'm really excited that things are opening back up, and we're starting to book gigs again. And you know, it's going to be great to get back out there. And the gig we had a couple weeks ago was it was a bigger bar / bowling alley, whatever it was. And it was big enough to have a number of people in there, was still following the social distancing rules. So that was great to be able to see people back, you know, enjoying music again.
Do you guys play covers or originals? Yeah,
we're a cover band.
Okay. Yeah. What's your what cover hits the hardest that you guys play?
Oh, geez, I have no idea.
Which one do you enjoy most?
Oh, well, we play so much stuff. We play 60s, and then we play Bruno Mars, so nice. we're kind of all over the place with what we choose. Either certain bands are like the 80s band or the 90s band, and we just kind of try to play everything. So, if a mother comes in with their kid, both of them like the music. So for me, it's, I don't know. I like almost everything that we play, really. So I don't think I have a favorite. I can't think of our set list right now either.
How many songs do you guys have in your repertoire that you could pull out at any time?
We would have to practice them, but we have some 96.
Wow.
That's crazy. When
we've been playing for a while.
we had a kind of like a pop band that we were trying to do, and we also did covers on the side, but we played a frat house at U of M years and years ago, and they're like, you guys can play covers, right? Yeah, we can play covers. And we show up, we play pretty much all 90s covers.
Yep.
And 4 of them were Goo Goo Dolls.
Yep.
5 of them were Third Eye Blind. And,
and
then we're like, yeah, we only got 10 songs, and they're all 90s songs. It was hilarious.
We played some Spin Doctors too. It went over well. Everybody knows that stuff. So
yeah. We always talk about that. As long as people can either dance to it or sing to it, you're good.
Yeah.
100%.
You're good.
Yeah. Well, Troy, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I just wanted to ask you one quick question. What does it mean to you to be fueled by choice?
I think it's about, getting out into the world and doing something inspirational for others. And I encourage everybody to find something that they can do that gets them out of their comfort zone and experiencing the world.
Love that.
Yeah.
And for everyone to check you out, obviously you have Professor on the Road on Instagram. Check out Dusty the Cat.
Professor on the Road on YouTube and Instagram, and it's Dusty the Adventure Cat on Instagram.
And everyone check out Troy's films. You can find them on Amazon, correct? And
Yes.
Anywhere else? Like, can you find them on Netflix too?
Not right now. So far, the documentary's on Amazon, and Shit Save the World is coming out soon. We just sold it to a sales agent in Los Angeles, and we're getting distribution probably Christmas time or something like that.
Awesome.
Well, looking forward to watching it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, well, have a great night. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Troy.
Awesome. Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Of course. Take care.
See ya.